It's that time of year, otherwise known as the lead up to the greatest week of the year. Not just the summer, the entire year. Some of you already know what I'm talking about. For the rest of you, I'm referring to the Super Bowl of powerboat racing that attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors to the Lake of the Ozarks. Shootout Week. And yes, it's over a week of festivities, from RC boat racing, many great parties, including the street party, which for some is better than the races themselves, the biggest poker run of the summer, and lots of raising money for charity. And because of the magnitude of this event, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to dig deeper, share the history from those who have been a part of it since the beginning in the late 80s, answer the frequently asked questions, share the details, interview some incredibly influential people to the shootout, maybe even a legendary racer. The greatest race at the greatest lake. The beginning of a multi-part series on all things shootout starts now. I am here with Jeff Dorhauer, one of the way I describe him, OGs of the shootout. And as a part of this series about all things shootout, FAQs, the reasons for the move, what you can expect at the new location, I figured we needed to dig deep into the history of the shootout. And one of the key people that I couldn't find any better to interview is this man right here. So Jeff, thank you first of all for being here with me. And I'd love for you to kind of give an introduction to yourself and how you got involved with the shootout as it began from infancy, right?
Okay, gladly. My name's Jeff. Obviously, I love your name. I'll never forget it. I'm a retired firefighter. I spent 30 years with the Osage Beach Fire Department, worked my way up from volunteer firefighter to paid chief, retired. I retired 5 years ago, got bored with retirement because my wife refuses to slow down. And, you know, I went back to work. I worked for a child advocacy center called Kids Harbor.
Awesome.
But as far as getting involved with the shootout, the story goes, and it's a true story, there was a group of boaters in 7 Mile Cove, $1 Million Cove, that would argue on weekends on whose boat was faster. So you had people like Carmen Natoli, who owned Shooters 21, Fran Steingruby, and others. And I hesitate to mention names because you're always going to forget someone.
Sure.
That decided to put on an event, run what you brung, to see who had the fastest boat, a bragging rights event. One of their goals, though, was safety. And that's where fire department and my involvement started, was with the rescue crews on the lake.
So let's digress that for a second. You said the 7 mile mark, Millionaire's Cove, what year was this?
Mid to late 1980s. 1989 was the first race.
Okay, and so that predates a lot of these like million and billion dollar coves now that are even further down.
Oh, exactly. You know, 7 Mile Cove used to be Party Cove. Again, we're talking 35, 40 years ago.
It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
I know it doesn't.
That's wild. Okay, so you got a bunch of guys with fast boats sitting in the bars, sitting on their docks, arguing about who can go faster. Had they had some like non-sanctioned racing that was going on before they decided to make this official?
No, this was the first race that had happened at the lake to my knowledge.
Okay.
There may have been some smaller sanctioned stuff, but I'm not aware of those. And it's now the largest unsanctioned race in the United States.
In the world.
Probably.
And so these guys were obviously very responsible, which is ironic because, as you probably know, the lake has a bad rap for irresponsibility. But this was very responsible move on their part to say, we want to race, but our first priority is safety.
It's safety. And I can guarantee you the chief and the police chiefs and the sheriff would not have gotten involved if that wasn't the top priority.
That's awesome. So it starts by them reaching out to the police, the fire, which one, and then where does it go from there?
They put on first race. They set up the course, they set up the rules, and ironically, the majority of those rules stay in place today.
No way.
That's how well thought out those first events were in regards to safety.
So was the original course a mile?
The original course was a mile.
Okay.
And it's down to a 3/4 mile
Right.
now.
Yep.
And originally you would run down the course for speed. You'd turn around and you'd come back for a second speed. Saturdays was test runs only, time trial.
Okay.
And Sunday was what counted as far as speed.
Wow. And counted for the bragging right. That's wild.
and it still is.
Yeah.
Now, we did hit a time where we brought Powerboat magazine on as a sponsor, where the Top Gun on the December issue of Powerboat magazine had their boat featured on the front cover,
That's cool.
which you can't put a price on that.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sure it's a hefty price tag.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So year one occurs. How many boats were involved? How much planning went into it? Was there charity involved, or was it just strictly?
But now you're making an old man really think here. I can't tell you how many boats were involved. I believe Randy Sissom, the owner of MTI, was the winner that year. No accidents, no injuries, and charity's always been a factor in it. It was somewhere around year 7 where the charity chosen was water rescue teams with the fire department on the lake. And at that point, we started taking more and more control until we took ownership of the event. And the fire departments actually ran and owned it until 2018.
So from when?
Early to mid 90s.
All the way in till then.
When we sent it to Captain Ron.
And that was what year again?
2018.
2018 is went to Ron's?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
No, wait. See, I get my dates
Earlier than
told
that.
you.
Yeah, it was earlier than that.
Yeah.
Because it was at Ron's for about
2008.
Eight. Okay,
Eight.
you just added a 1.
I had the 8.
You had the 1, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. The fire department ran. I don't know a lot of people know that.
Probably don't, but the ones who do probably think we still run it. You still hear people say, well, you guys have the shootout, don't you? The issue became when shooters closed. Obviously, we had to move it. The first year it was held, our fire department ran 300 calls that year, maybe. And the last year, we were running over 2,000 calls. When I was CEO of the shootout, it took me 13 months to put this event off. I'd start working on the next one a month before the current one.
Wow.
And when your call load's gone that way, and it did all around the lake, we just didn't have the time. We weren't spending the time we needed to on what our real job was.
Yeah.
We did it. And one thing I always believed, even though we're a tax-supported entity, being the fire department, the demographics down here is tourism. And we owed it to the community to do what we could do to, up tourism. And the shootout would bring people in the weekend before Labor Day, which historically then was a dead weekend. And if you talk to some of the police chiefs that were around back then, they geared up for that weekend as if it was another holiday weekend.
Wow. When would you say was like the turning point for you all to recognize that this was going to be a game-changing weekend as a result of this race?
I don't know that we ever really recognized it. Every year after the event was over, we'd look at each other and say, this is the last year we're doing this.
Really?
And we saw the financials coming in, where they're making $700,000-800,000 right now to give to charities. We were making $80,000. Bringing Budweiser on help, bringing Powerboat on help. But we didn't have the knowledge to run an event to the way it turned into.
Yeah.
We were simple firemen, okay? We put the wet stuff on the red stuff, and that's what we did. We weren't event promoters. So Shooters 21 closing, in a way, for this event was a game changer because it put it into people who run businesses, who know how to promote, who know how to get more sponsors than we were able to, and had the time to do it. And it turned into what you see today.
So let's backtrack again. For those of you that aren't familiar with the shootout as it was pre-Captain Ron's days, the 21-mile marker, which is where Shooters 21 was, now it's a neighborhood.
Yes.
You were racing out on the main channel.
We were racing on the main channel. In the early years, there was no wake zone.
Oh, gosh.
And even when we finally shut it down because shooters moved and we gave it to Captain Ron's, the no wake zone went from this corner you see behind this camera view to about a mile past Shooters 21. So we would get rollers through there all the time when people would hit this 3 corners here and come off plane, it would just send rollers down the course.
I gotta believe that, obviously, I guess boats weren't racing as fast as they are today.
Right.
But did that create a higher frequency of accident?
No. In the years that I was involved in the shootout up to 2000, ended in 2007, I can remember 1 accident on our course.
Wow. And was that due to just the lower speeds back then, or what would you say?
Well, when you talk about the lower speeds, that also came with boats that weren't equipped for higher speeds. Speed plays a little part of it. I just think it was safety on everybody's mind, including the boat drivers. And they've had 1 incident out of Captain Ron's, but they hold that same safety standard for all the years that they had it.
Yeah. And obviously it's gotten to the point now where the great number of boats that are now exceeding 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you know, the courses are different. Obviously that one's shorter, but they're allowed a running start in that one. Where ours, if you had what's called crash boxes, which no neutral, you could get on plane was all you could do and then take off and had 1 mile. There's some specific things that have made the speeds increase over the years besides going to a shorter course.
Yeah, wow.
And that's why they went to a shorter course, was try to reduce those speeds.
Yeah, yeah, that's wild. Well, yeah, and I think it creates more potential safety, right? I mean,
Correct.
Although it's not slowing them down, they're still pushing the limit. And you saw what obviously just happened at Havasu earlier this year,
yep.
Which is scary.
It is. And the one accident we had here was very similar. If you put those pictures side by side, you would think it was the same boat.
Really? That's wild. That's wild. So you continued on until it moved over to Captain Ron's. Would you say from your experience, now when you were heavily involved in it and then it transferred over, did you still stay heavily involved in it when it went to Ron?
As an advisor, I did.
Okay.
We told Ron when he took it over, we had the name copyrighted, Lake Rescue Shootout, that we weren't releasing that copyright until we saw what he could do. And that first year he put that event on, you know, we went to him and said, hey, we're releasing the copyright, this is yours.
He did a good job.
He did a great job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So from your perspective, having seen it at the two locations and the original versus what it kind of evolved into, if you had a choice, which one would you prefer? Which one would you choose?
Well, that's a hard one because I would say original because you could see it from the land, which is a huge selling point.
Yeah.
But the technology they brought over to Captain Ron's with the TVs and in the area for booth space and the beaches and, you know, being able to swim, you really couldn't swim at Shooters.
Yeah.
I would say that location.
So for different reasons.
For different reasons.
Which leads us to the new course, which strategically is right over our shoulders here. We're sitting here at Dog Days, which is now the new home of the new location, right? So just beyond the bridge there, it's kind of T's basically, and the top of the T is going to be the race course.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on this change?
If you look at logistically, and first of all, let me say Captain Ron's did an amazing job. Change is tough, takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
But logistically, I like it. You have 2 4-lane highways running by the event as opposed to 1 2-lane, which helps with traffic, which helps with emergency response. You have a hospital 2 miles from us, plus you can still land life flight and fly to Columbia if needed. So I think safety-wise, as far as the logistics side of it, it's better. Sightlines is no different. They're going to have to put monitors up. You're going to have to, if you're on land, watch it from TV. Until the development over there gets done, you have less opportunity for booths here because you don't have the real estate.
And by development, you mean Oasis?
Yes. You know, once Oasis is up and running, once that hotel is up and running, I think there's no doubt that this is going to be probably the best location you could choose on the lake.
Yeah. And there's more to it in the sense that the proximity to industry up this way versus down that way, which tends to be a little quieter, a little bit more residential, whereas there's a lot more commercialism up here, a lot more boat dealers, a lot more money. Just call it what it is, right? And that presents an opportunity for the shootout to do what it was intended to do, which is raise money.
Exactly. And some of the comments I've heard is it's all about the money. And I'll agree 100% it is.
Yeah.
Because they're giving $750,000 away to local charity.
Yeah.
And it should be about the money and it should stay about that money.
The context by how people say it, though, is incorrect.
Is incorrect.
And I pointed this out in previous videos that these boat owners are spending hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. And American Ethanol's case, they do nothing but run the shootout. I can't imagine the amount of money he's spending to come here and run a couple of times.
Right.
And win a plaque.
And win a plaque. Plus bragging rights. That's important.
What is the joke about you see on social media? The reasons why men die before their wives? I guess that's one of them. We do stupid stuff like that.
Exactly. And I've lost some good friends to boat racing.
Yeah. I mean, there's been several because some of the racers here also race in the offshore circuit.
They do.
Correct?
They do. If you go down to Key West for the Nationals, you'll swear as you walk by people, you're in Lake of the Ozarks. Not only the racers, but the people that are watching it. It's like Osage Beach, Lake Ozarks, Sunrise Beach, all moved down for
That's
that
really cool.
week.
That's
in
really
Key
cool.
West.
Which, to me, as a Midwesterner, I still believe it's massively underrated.
The races?
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
To the masses. Maybe
to the
not
masses.
to the powerboat world, but to the masses.
But when I look back to 1989 to where it is today, it takes my breath away how big it's become. We had Ken Warby here from Australia, who set the world record for the fastest boat on water. Obviously, a boat's on water. We had a team from Puerto Rico come one year. We've had Canadians here.
Norway.
Norway.
Yeah.
The amount of teams that come out of California is astounding.
Yeah.
And that's a haul. Every year that I talk to people who are here for the first time, you're right, they never realized this lake was here, that it had the restaurants and establishments on the water, that it had the number of power boats that you see. They had never heard of this before that.
Wild.
So the shootout has done a lot to bring this area and put it on a map.
I would agree. I call it the best week of the year. And that was from the guy before I got involved as just a fan. I was that excited for this week every year. And I've only been coming to the lake since 2012, so I'm a late comer.
Late comer.
Yeah. So 2 more questions. The first one is to the fan who's pissed about this move. We know that the fan who's primarily excited about it because now it's probably closer to them. The person who's pissed is probably pissed because it moved away from the west side.
Okay.
Moved away. How would you respond to somebody who says this is a terrible move?
First thing I would ask them is what they liked about the race. And if it's being there, they can be here. If it's a charity, we're making the move to make more money for charity. Again, we talked about change is hard, but sometimes change is necessary.
Yeah.
And I'm not on the board. I don't know why the board made these decisions because it was a successful event.
Yeah.
But the key points we talked about, safety, this is a better choice for that. So just give them a chance and see where it goes from here.
Yeah. How about this question? To somebody watching this who is either passively knows about the shootout or has no idea what we're talking about, how would you describe it to them?
Wow. Adrenaline on the water for everyone, whether you're a spectator, whether you're a racer, or whether you're working the event. It's just high feeling. It's great spirits. It's thrilling. It's scary. It's just an event like no other.
Yeah. And beyond the boat racing, even if you're not into boat racing, it's just a very awesome day on the water.
It is.
It's kind of like a Party Cove setting, but not that.
Not that.
But more boats probably than a Party Cove.
Yeah, it's not raunchy part of Party Cove, and we all know that's there. It's boat enthusiasts.
Yeah.
And many of them go out there not so much to watch the boat on the course, but just to hang out with other boating enthusiasts.
Yeah.
But if you're not a race fan, I'd encourage you to go down to the strip on Wednesday night for the lineup party.
Yeah.
Out of all this now, that's become my favorite event.
Same.
I just love going down to see this $1 million hardware on display where you can get up and close with it.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're talking about, it's a modified trailer. It's a trailer that displays it. So it's not just sitting there flat, it's tilted up, and you've got the drivers, the owners, everybody's accessible to talk to you. It has become an amazing event.
When you talk about, I'll call them celebrities because to me they are, they're the most down-to-earth person.
Yeah.
If you want to sit there and talk about the motors they put it in, why they put it in, and what's the horsepower, and they'll sit there all night with you and talk about that.
Yeah.
They're just into boating the same as you're into boating.
I love it. I love it. And so we've got an exciting year this year. At the time of this recording, it's a little before August, right around the corner. There's going to be a lot going on. It's over a week long's worth of events. Starts the weekend before with the mini shootout, and there's literally almost something going on every day that week. I think there's one day where there's not something going on. And so if you had this on your bucket list, and it's a passive bucket list, the two Jeffs would encourage you to raise it up on your bucket list and not only come down for the weekend of racing, but get down here the Wednesday before because you won't regret it.
Exactly. I'll put this out there. It's family friendly.
Yeah.
You'll not pay a dime to do anything in these events unless you register to race something.
Yeah.
So you can bring the family out here. It's a cheap day out. It's thrilling. It's fun. So enjoy it as a family.
It's going to be fun, Jeff. It's a pleasure and an honor to interview you, to talk to you, to get to learn about the history that I don't know much about. So I'm going to continue to do these interviews with a few individuals just like Jeff who have a really deep history with the shootout. And we're going to continue to shed some deeper light and hopefully a lot of positive light on the race that is really bringing so much recognition to, in my opinion, Jeff, the greatest lake on the planet.
My opinion also.
Love it, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, brother.
I hope you enjoyed the first of several videos dedicated to this incredible event.
Jeff is truly an OG and a cornerstone to the event that you love. If you're not already, make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss one video. We've got a lot more to come, so buckle up, stay dialed in, and we'll see you soon for more Shootout and Lake of the Ozarks content.